The sun had just started to rise over the rolling green hills of Willow Creek when I realized the full weight of what they'd done. From the ridge above my land, I could see them, 35 perfect little houses, identical in color and shape, standing where my pasture used to be. My grandfather's barn was gone. The oak tree I carved my initials into as a boy had been cut down, its stump buried beneath a row of manicured driveways. A sparkling new sign read, Maple Grove Estates, a proud WA community. And all I could think was how quiet it used to be. How peaceful, how much heart this place once had. I didn't want revenge, not at first. I just wanted answers. It had started 3 years ago, when I inherited the land from my father. 180 acres of forest, fields, and a winding creek that fed into the old reservoir we'd built generations ago. It wasn't much to look at for city folks, but it was everything to me. I'd spent my life there, fixing fences, fishing at dawn, planting wildflowers along the dam with my late wife, Carol. That land was where we raised our son, where every laugh and heartbreak of our lives was written in the dirt. Then one spring morning, I got a letter. Dear Mr. Callahan, it began, printed on thick paper that smelled of fresh ink. The Willow Creek Homeowners Association is requesting confirmation of your boundary survey for Parcel 47A. Recent assessments indicate a potential overlap with the newly developed Maple Grove subdivision. I didn't understand half of it, but I knew one thing, something was wrong. When I called, they passed me around from one office to another until someone finally told me, Sir, according to county records, your land was rezoned and incorporated into the WA district 2 years ago. I laughed. That's impossible, I said. I didn't sell it. I didn't sign anything. The woman on the other end sighed, like she'd said it 1,000 times before. I'm sorry, sir, but the deeds are on file. You'll need to contact our legal department if you wish to dispute. I hung up, and that's when it began. Over the next few months, I watched bulldozers tear into my land. Men in hard hats and neon vests acted like I wasn't even there. I tried talking to the foreman once, but he just shrugged and said, if you got a problem, take it to court. But I didn't have money for lawyers. I was just a farmer with old boots and a truck that coughed more smoke than it ran. Then came the families. They moved in like the tide. New SUVs, children on scooters, dogs barking behind white fences. The houses were beautiful, sure, but soulless. I'd drive past sometimes just to see what used to be mine. Once, I saw a little girl playing where Carol's rose garden had been. She waved at me, smiling like sunshine. For a moment, my anger melted. Maybe it wasn't her fault, I thought. Maybe she deserved a place to laugh, too. Still, the ache stayed. And then came the meeting. I got a notice taped to my mailbox. Mandatory WA community meeting for all residents and neighboring landowners. I figured, what's one night? Maybe I could at least speak my truth. The meeting was held in their new clubhouse, a shiny building with chandeliers and lemon-scented floors. I stood in the back, hat in hand, while a man in a crisp blue suit spoke about community expansion and sustainability. When I raised my hand and said, "You built those homes on my land," the room went silent. He looked at me like I was a stray dog that had wandered in. "Sir, your claims were reviewed and dismissed by the county. We followed every regulation. You stole my life's work," I said, my voice shaking. A woman in pearls leaned toward her husband and whispered, "That's the man from the farm." The man in the suit smiled. Politely, "We appreciate your passion, Mr. Callahan. Perhaps we can offer compensation for any inconvenience." "Inconvenience," I repeated. "You tore down my wife's garden." He sighed. "Security will escort you out now." That was the last time I set foot in Maple Grove, until the night the rain came. It had been a dry summer, the kind that cracks the earth and leaves dust hanging in the air. But in late September, the sky broke open. For 3 days straight, it poured. The creek swelled, the reservoir groaned, and I knew the dam would be tested like never before. That dam was old. My granddad built it by hand with stone and stubbornness. It had held through storms, droughts, and time itself. But now, as I stood at the control gate in the downpour, watching the floodlights of those 35 homes shimmer below, I realized something the WA hadn't. They'd built their paradise right in the dam's floodplain. I wasn't going to destroy them. I swear I wasn't. I just wanted them to understand what they'd taken. So I turned the wheel. Just enough. Just to remind them the land still had a heartbeat. Water began to spill over the edges, a silver sheet rushing down into the hollow. Within minutes, their manicured lawns became rivers. Lights flickered in the houses. People ran outside, shouting, dragging their kids into cars. Panic bloomed like thunder. And then I saw her, the same little girl who'd waved at me once. She stood by the edge of the street, clutching a stuffed bear, crying as the water crept toward her sneakers. In that instant, all the anger, all the loss, all the bitterness drained out of me. I ran down the hill through the mud, the rain slicing my face. I scooped her up, her tiny arms gripping my neck. "It's okay, sweetheart," I whispered. "I've got you." Her parents found us minutes later, sobbing, thanking me as they bundled her into their car. By morning, the water had calmed. The dam held. No one was hurt, just damage. Flooded basements, broken fences, a few ruined lawns. But the message was clear. The land wasn't theirs to tame. A few days later, the WA president came to my door. No suit this time, just a soaked jacket and tired eyes. "You could have destroyed everything," he said quietly. "I didn't," I replied. "You did." He looked down at his shoes, then back at me. We didn't know the history of this land. About your wife. About your family." "No," I said. "You didn't care." For a long moment, we just stood there. Then he reached into his coat and handed me a folded document. "The board met this morning. We've decided to release the disputed acreage back to you. It's not all of it, but it's something." The residents voted unanimously. I opened the paper. It wasn't everything I'd lost, but it was enough. Enough to breathe again. The next spring, some of the homeowners came to help me rebuild the barn. The same little girl planted roses with me by the water's edge. Her parents brought lemonade. We laughed, we worked, and for the first time in years, the place felt alive again. Sometimes I still walk along the ridge at sunset, looking down at the houses below. They don't look like intruders anymore. They look like neighbors. I guess that's what Carol would have wanted, to turn loss into life, bitterness into belonging. When the wind rustles through the reeds and the dam hums softly under the evening light, I like to think she's there somewhere, smiling. Because in the end, it wasn't about land or ownership. It was about forgiveness. And maybe that's the real power of humanity, learning to open the floodgates of our hearts without washing away what matters most.